I want to welcome everybody to another In My Feels. I don't usually talk about the things I'm going to talk about on this podcast today. I want to keep this podcast spiritually practical as I can, but I wouldn't be being spiritual if I didn't really say what was on my mind or what was kind of bothering me or those type of elements. But before we get into that, thoughts, feelings, emotions, conditionings, belief systems, everything on the inside creates your outside exterior. So again, my question for everybody listening at home is, how are you feeling right now in this moment? And really kind of take your time, dive in on your feelings, your emotions, and everything that's gone on, since last week's episode. And really ask yourself, and again, creating this collective consciousness of asking someone, how are they feeling right now in this moment? And I think it's crucial because it is now. We're creating everything in the now. There is no yesterday creation or future creation. It's now. Everything is created now, factually and spiritually. So really take your time and dive in on how you are feeling. Talk to yourself, open up to yourself, really dive in. And if you can talk to someone or talk to me, hit me up. I'd love to know how you're feeling right now in this moment. And how am I feeling? I guess I'm feeling a little apprehensive. I've seen some stuff going over the last few weeks. I'm going to dive a little bit more into the kind of the Kyrie Irving situation and him not being able to play and the vax against unvax and this kind of divide and conquer tactics that's going on by government and big pharma and everyone else. And it's kind of getting me down a little, I'm not going to lie. I understand I'm the master and commander and I'm the creator of my experience, my existence. Everything is created from within me. And I see the outside influences kind of creeping in, whether it's social media, the fact checkers, the kind of everything. It has become this point of view as where no one can have an opinion about something, especially when it's concerning themselves. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to live in a space of no judgment and everyone's entitled to an opinion. And just because I say something and I agree with something doesn't mean it's right for everyone else. It's right for me, It doesn't mean it's right, period. Just because you agree with something doesn't mean it's right. But I think that's the beautifulness of what I'm trying to portray. And I hope what my listeners are kind of picking up on is this kind of positivity of collective consciousness to understand the power that we all have. So yeah, I don't know if any of you have heard, but, Kyrie Irving, one of the I guess, successful basketball players right now, has decided not to get the vaccine. Personal choice to him, free will to him. He just doesn't feel like the information is there enough for him. He doesn't feel educated enough in it. He feels it goes against the beliefs that he has as a healthy individual, as an athlete and everything else. So it's his choice. And that's something I kind of wanted to comment on. I guess I'll give my, we call it 2 pence where I come from. So my 2 pence. And I think we're stepping into this kind of narrative of this kind of free choice being taken away, government choosing for you, mandates. And I can see the power slipping away somewhat collectively from us because, obviously the lockdown and then mask mandates and all these type of things which keep people safe. I'm not against any of that stuff. I know that my universe is safe and I know that everyone who's listening, I want your universes and to be safe too, but you have to project that type of notion, that type of thought process and belief and conditioning within yourself for you to attract that to you. I can't do that for you. I can collectively be on the same alignment, which is what I'm trying to bring everyone to, is this kind of collective alignment. So the government, I can see, I don't watch much media and stuff, but when you're on social media and you see these things pop up and don't pop up and things get taken down, this type of stuff, the government and media right now, and everyone there's this massive divide. It's kind of like the vax versus unvax, this. And I can read things because I'm on the outside of it and I see it for who it is. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and I can't even vote in this country. I'm a green card holder and I work, I pay an insane amount of taxes. I love my life here and I'm creating this kind of practical spiritualness within my listeners and within myself, and I'm growing with that. But when I saw the kind of the political race between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, I could see the tactics from Donald Trump was to divide and conquer, and it's you create enough doubt within a party where they argue amongst themselves, you split the votes, you split the kind of audience, you split everything so that it becomes smaller segments. Meanwhile, regardless of whether it's a lot of people or not, he has a collective amount of people who are going to back him regardless. So therefore, he has the majority. And that's kind of where we're at now with the kind of the vax And when you have the majority, you have the complete power, and that's how he won. And I can see that on a spiritual sense as well as a collective consciousness sense, because when you put doubt into people's spiritualness, it creates more doubts, and the doubts trickle down, the doubts trickle to other people, and like attracts like. You attract that kind of essence of doubt within the society. And, if you're vaccinated, as I've said before, amazing. If you're not vaccinated for whatever reason, amazing. I am creating a collective consciousness. Just remember, I believe that everything in my life is me. So when I feel sick, I attracted that illness. That is me taking that's me taking accountability for everything in my life. And I cannot change anything until I do that. This podcast today's episode isn't a conspiracy theory. I'm just kind of grabbing points and kind of, things from what I've seen this week. And I'm kind of run through everything as well. As I said, this is not a conspiracy theory. I just always have to speak what's on my mind. Kyrie is standing, from what I can see, he's standing up for people who have lost their jobs because they are forced to get vaccinated. And I personally think it's wrong. I think it's wrong to force anyone to do anything. Nurses and doctors who are on the front, who have been on the front lines, are being told, get vaccinated or lose your job. And these are people who were on the front lines dealing with people who are sick, who have firsthand experience, who know the dangers and the troubles and how detrimental COVID is to someone's system or body. And we are now turning against those people who are the front line. This is before a vaccine even came out. And I think it's wrong. And I think this is what Kyrie is standing up for. He's standing up for himself. He's standing up for people who don't have a voice, people who are losing their jobs. And I mean, I'm a firm believer in truth, and truth cannot be questioned, and it always finds its way to the top. But I feel like this whole, there's too much doubt around this whole campaign, this whole, not COVID. I know that's real. We've lost people, I've had it, I've been sick and all that type of stuff. But I understand now the collective consciousness of people, because I see how the world, or how, the United States, where it's heading into. So us versus them, or they, or. And we can't get to that. We can't get to that. We have to step into a place of love, unconditional love with no restrictions. And I've spoken about this before on my podcast. And I research, because this is what I do. I like to research. I like to know what's going on. I like to understand within myself. And I have this kind of, gut feeling when I know something is true or not. And there's a lot of doubt around this. And until the truth pervades or comes out, then I'm just going to, I'm going to consistently work on my mental state, my consciousness, our collective consciousness, and really dive in on the power within. That's kind of the narrative I want to consistently bring to this show and to everyone else. I've done research on it. I've done everything on the vaccine as much as I can. And as I said, there's doubt for me, and there's doubt for my family. There's doubt for, them vaccinating kids, and there's everything else. My daughter's been exposed to COVID twice and never really didn't have anything, no temperature, no anything else. And now we're stepping into this power shift. The power to the people is no longer power to the people, it's power to the government. Our collective consciousness has shifted away from the power within ourselves, and we're giving it away. The government is saying jump, and we're saying how high. That's kind of how it feels. And you only have to look at the statistics. I mean, it's all out there for everybody. I mean, Pfizer alone this year are going to make $80 billion from the vaccine. The vaccines are free, but they're not free because they're taxpayers' money. I'm paying, just as everyone else is paying for these vaccines. But where's the profit going? Again, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is just me bringing some kind of background to where I'm coming from in this conversation. $80 billion, which is going into someone's pocket or a company's pocket, a collective of CEOs and everyone else, and they're driving this narrative, get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get vaccinated. That should not be the narrative. The narrative should be get healthy, get a healthy mind, meditate, love one another. Let's come together. Let's not divide and conquer. Let's really explore who we want to be in this kind of new world that's being creative. I don't see lockdown as being something negative for me. I can only speak for something for me. I see it as an opportunity to grow more within myself, to really decide on who I want to be. A huge narrative on media is, the hospitals are overrun. It's pandemic out there. They're opening up, car parks for this type of stuff, for patients and everything else, which is incredibly upsetting. But then why are you mandating for the people that were on the front line, the doctors and nurses, if your hospitals are overrun? You need as much help as you can get. And then again, this creates a doubt for me. This creates a doubt because I can read between the lines of a narrated story and truth. I know what's true within myself. And, I really want us to explore our inner truth and really understand our inner truth and kind of collectively come together and have open discussions. It's I saw someone on Joe Rogan's podcast, I can't remember his name, who spoke about the ill effects he got from a vaccine. And everyone went in on him. He's anti-vax. I'm like, but he's actually been vaccinated. He's giving an opinion based on himself of how he felt after getting the vaccine. And he's had symptoms ever since. And I think it's up to us as individuals. And I see all these comments on Twitter and people commenting, and it's so detrimental to the mental state of our society. I want us all to come together and progress within ourselves, within love. And I know that society does not love itself, or the individuals within collective society does not love itself, because the outward projection would be love. I only see elements of love in terms of in my actual immediate circle, because this is who I am. I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the people around me. The people around me are enjoying themselves. I want to project this type of energy of love. And I know it's not easy thing to say. It's not an easy thing to do, to love oneself. It sounds kind of wishy-washy, but this is something that we have to condition. We've conditioned ourselves to unlove ourselves. So we have to break that habit. The book of Atomic Habits is a perfect example of outward habits that we need to break. But what about the inward habits, the mental states, the depression? Depression is a habit. It becomes a habit because you're used to feeling the same way over and over again. Then when something comes in and it makes you feel good, that feeling is foreign to you. Then you retract. Then you go back to being in that depressed state because that's what feels comfortable. And we need to break that comfortability. And I mean, logic as well. I mean, hospital staff, all these type of things, doctors, nurses, they're the ones who are tested the most. So are sports athletes. So how is someone being unvaccinated in a society where I think, 75% of people are vaccinated? How can an unvaccinated person affect someone who's vaccinated? You're protected. But again, this is why I'm not saying vaccines are bad. I think they're actually good for society. Because if you believe what you are getting is a cure, miracle cure, or a healer for you, so it shall be. Asking you shall receive. Again, spiritually, you break it down. If you believe something is good for you, it's good for you. It's like, when you have a belief system of when you get older, your body gets older. When you age, you in your conditioning is to believe that your body starts breaking down. When you hit a certain, there's heart attack, all these type of things that start happening. It's because that's your belief system. So if you believe you're getting something, an injection or a doctor's checkup or any type of things, and you believe that it's good for you, it is good for you. And it's good for society because it's a collective consciousness, which is good for society. And, Kyrie Irving is tested before every game. And I would feel more comfortable going out to eat in a restaurant where everybody's tested. And I know everyone is free of COVID, rather than a whole place of vaccinated people who aren't tested, because you don't need a test when you're vaccinated, but you can still be a carrier. Another thing I read up on today is a player, an NBA Atlanta Hawks player, former Atlanta Hawks player called Brandon Goodwin, who just came forward and stated that the vaccine ended his 2021 season and potentially his career due to from the vaccine. He got some severe blood clots. He states that the NBA tried to cover it up. He's now a free agent. This is why we have to allow people to have a free choice in choosing. And Kyrie Irving, probably knows this guy, knows that there's more people affected by it, and it's his choice. And he's clearly, because he's an athlete, he's clearly being safe. He has to get tested. The people, when he goes home, have to be tested. I mean, when they were playing NBA last season, pretty much the players had to leave their families and live in an incubator and be tested regularly. They know the health implications of this. They get COVID, they don't play. Ball is their life. And anyone with a different opinion or from anyone is labeled anti-something. Oh, I'm anti-vax because I'm speaking about some of these issues. I'm not anti-vax. I think the vaccines are great for society. It's great for collective consciousness, for people who believe that when they get the vaccine, they are healthy. Great. I love it. I'm pro-choice and accountability, spiritually speaking. I'm accountable for my universe. I'm accountable, as I said in my collective consciousness, I am healed. I am loved. I am abundance. I am safe. You can name it. This is who we are. This is what I'm trying to build. This is what we need to work towards. This is how we need to recondition our minds. We need to step from our past minds and we need to step into now minds. And, I saw a speech with President Biden. And again, I don't want to turn this podcast into political, but this is how I'm feeling. This is how I have to get things off of my mind for me to move from it. And when I focus on something that I don't like within myself, it disappears because I'm questioning it. I'm questioning it right now. This is what we have to do. There's something on your mind, speak it. You have to shed light on it for it to disappear. And I saw, President Biden give a speech on this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, or which again is getting to me because it's a pandemic because people are dying of a disease. That's the pandemic. The pandemic is on health. It's not on vaccines or unvaccinated. And if you are vaccinated, as I said before, in theory, you are protected. And if you aren't, that's your choice too. But you know that you're healthy because you have to allow yourself to be. Now, if I'm, logically speaking, if I'm vaccinated and I'm in a place with unvaccinated people, how does that make any difference to me being vaccinated? I'm protected. And it's vice versa. If I'm unvaccinated, I'm in a place with vaccinated people, and in my mind, I am healthy. Spiritually speaking, again, remove the practicality from it. Spiritually speaking, which is what I believe, that everything in my life is me, including my health, I am fully protected. Then where is the argument? This is what I don't understand. And I'm seeing it constantly. But this is what the narrative is to divide our collective consciousness. And I'm trying to bring it back together. Time for us to grow this consciousness with healthy minds, bodies. And I'm going to be honest with you, everyone I've spoken to who is vaccinated has caught COVID again from vaccinated people. I'm not saying they've been ill, severely ill, or any of those type of things, but we have to grow as a collective consciousness. Let's start to spread love without conditions. We have to build this collective consciousness of free will. We are free will. We are the creators and masters of our ship. And we manifest everything to the finite detail. But we are slowly, and I can see it. I'm not talking about us because I hope we're building this collective consciousness, but anyone else around you. We are slowly giving that power away to big pharma, government, media. We're giving it all away. And it's time for us to grow and love each other with no conditions. And this is something that resonates so deep with me, this kind of statement. You want to change the world, change things in your own world. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm on this podcast and I'm changing my world so that the world can change. And until we are willing to take full responsibility for it, we can't change any of it. If you don't know that everything in your life is you, how can you change any of it? And until you take responsibility for it, it cannot be changed. And what is, Conversation with God quotes, which I love as well, which kind of resonates so deep within this kind of topic, is what is needed, which I guess it comes from God or the universe or whoever you want to say, or his subconscious, regardless, it's still a great statement. What is needed is a growth in consciousness, not a growth in government. Now the government is getting more and more powerful. Do you notice that? You notice the kind of, they have a say over your life. They have a say over pretty much where you can go, where you can't go, who you can hang out with, who you can't hang out with. And I've spoken to people who have lost friends from people who are vaccinated, who aren't vaccinated, because of this divide. And it's honestly mind-boggling. We are all part of the human race. We are all one. We all come from the same thing. And it's madness to me. This is why I have to shed light on it. I have to shed light on it so that, for me, it disappears. And you cannot grow and become great when you are constantly being told what to do by government. There was this kind of spiritual notion in the 60s and the protesting and everything else against the kind of power of government. And now we're just kind of just laying flat. And anyone who has an opinion is cancelled or any type of things. But it's like the reason I use Joe Rogan as an example because he speaks very openly about COVID and how he got over it and everything that treated him, what worked for him. It's okay. See, he's speaking on his own show. He's not speaking on anyone else's show who has a disagreement with him. He's speaking on his own show. And I think it's a beautiful thing when we're honest with each other and we can have an honest conversation with each other. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to agree. As long as you respect and love one another unconditionally, that's a beautiful thing to step into. And another thing that's concerning to me, which I can kind of see in people, and people hit me up all the time. I've had someone hit me up recently, who don't even listen to my podcast, who just liked what I put up on Instagram and Twitter, who, wanted to commit suicide and everything else. And they had this intense pressure on themselves, pressure from the kind of isolation that they've kind of fallen into this habit of isolation. Lockdown has been detrimental to so many people. If you were lonely and depressed before lockdown, imagine what lockdown is going to do to those individuals. And new habits are going to be created. Not wanting to go out, all these stuff, because I was in that habit. I was in that habit of not wanting to go out, not feeling comfortable around other people, all this type of thing, and this kind of creating this fear-based consciousness for myself. And I was seeing the fear-based consciousness on the outside. I had to break out of that myself and understand that I was doing that to myself. And imagine how many deaths are going to come from this kind of isolation. And I really want to bring this positivity, and I really want to change people's frame of minds that I'm here for you. If you want to hit me up, hit me up. I try and reply to everybody to the best I can. And I want to build this collective consciousness of openness and listening to each other and understanding how someone feels and understanding how I feel and opening up to this kind of relationship with yourself and being a friend to yourself. Well, that's a good one. Being a friend to yourself. And understanding, I get how people create these pressures within themselves to achieve a certain something, to be a certain something. If I don't hit that by that, I'm a failure. Based on whom? Based on something outside of yourself, not based on something inside of yourself. And I'm here to say, I'm open. I'm here. And those who are feeling isolated and segregated and separated, and those who are vaccinated, unvaccinated, I don't care. I am here for everybody. Just know that I'm building a collective consciousness, and I'd love to take everybody with me so that we're perfectly aligned, so that we can create this power of this healing of everything else. And I think I'm going to end it there. I mean, don't feel this as me, going in and dictating or any of this type of stuff. It's me just genuinely opening up how I feel. Now I feel great. I feel better about myself. I feel this kind of loving essence, this togetherness, this collective consciousness within myself, because I'm speaking about everything that's on my mind. So now what's happening? You hear that space? And I hope there's space for you too. My mind is quiet. And I want to create more and more space within my mind, within our minds, so we can allow ourselves to think.